thank you so much for accommodating me with this time change today. I've been having a conflict on Monday mornings, and I decided I really need to make a change. I am part of a direct sales training program that I'm working on. It's like a membership, really, kind of like a subscription membership. But anyways, there are several things that happen during the week. One is by Facebook Live on Mondays at 11:30 a.m., sometimes 12:30, but I've been missing a lot of them, and I always think, well, I'll go back and watch later, and then I get caught up in what I'm doing, and I miss a lot of those trainings, and I feel like I get so much more out of them if I tune in at the time that they're live and work from there. So I am going to be making a change to the time of my Monday Facebook Live soon. And I may just flip Monday and Friday times, but I'll let you know for sure. But today I tried that out for myself, and it seems to work better for me. So thank you for the time change. 4 o'clock then conflicts with a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Leaders Facebook group that has a Monday update for all the leaders. So it's just what it worked out to be today. But thank you for being so accommodating. I do want to mention that our new mini catalog and celebration brochure went live last Tuesday. I know that some of my customers still have not received theirs yet. If that is the case with you, I see Amy on here. I know I've got you on the list, and I think got 2 others on the list right now. But if you are a customer of mine, meaning you placed a Stampin' Up! Order with me in the last year, 2021, you should be receiving one. If you have not received it yet, please let me know, and I will drop one in the mail to you this week. I also want to remind you about a couple of classes to go I have happening. The Sweet Talk class to go, in which you're going to make 8 cards. One of them is a fun fold, and another is a pocket card. So you're going to make 8 cards, 2 each of the 4 designs, and you can purchase option 1 and receive the full bundle and the embellishments as well, or you can purchase just the card supplies and the embellishment for option 2 if you already have the bundle, or if you're a demonstrator and will be purchasing the bundle obviously from yourself on a demonstrator order. And then of course the PDF tutorial only. Deadline for registering for the Sweet Talk class to go is tomorrow, January 11th. So by end of day tomorrow, you have until then to register for that class. I also introduced a new class by email. I believe it went out last evening, and it is the Rainbow of Happiness class to go. With that, you're going to make 20 note cards, and that is for each of 5 different designs. They're really a lot of fun. You're going to get the Rainbow of Happiness bundle. Bundle. And you're going to get a full pack of the celebration paper, sunshine and rainbows. So it's a great value. The total value of product is, I want to say, $62.50, and that class costs $75. Or you can purchase just the PDF tutorial for that, which is $15. There will not be a card only option for the Rainbow of Happiness class. The reason for that is I've designed the class to use so that everybody gets the full packet of the Sunshine and Rainbow DSP from Celebration. So I won't have orders that will give me enough of those free packs. They get the free pack as part of the class because they're buying the bundle. So there's no option for just that, okay? It's just the full class with the bundle and the DSP pack or the PDF tutorial. And registration for that just opened, and it will be open through the 18th. But I suggest you not wait, because sometimes I do put my orders in a little bit early to ensure that the people who are signed up will get the product. I don't anticipate there being a problem, but you just never know. And sometimes people just forget and miss the deadline, and I can't always accommodate them. And finally, my January 31st Zoom class. This is an online class. We're going to make 20 cards, all of them different, and we're going to make them together online via Zoom. And with that, you're going to get the memories and blessings of home, right? Heart and Home. I think I've been calling it the wrong name. Heart and Home Memories and More card pack, the pack of 20 coordinating cards and envelopes. You're going to get my favorite new embellishment, the brush brass butterflies, and a roll of pale papaya ribbon. And that all costs $52. It's a great, great value. We're going to meet online January 31st. And if for some reason you sign up and something happens between now and January 31st, it will be recorded, and then I would just send you the recording and photos of the cards the next day. All right? Who's ready to get started making some fun things today? Today, I am featuring a celebration product as well as a new stamp set from the mini catalog. And it's sort of a takeoff on doing a one sheet wonder, 6x6 one sheet wonder, but there's a little bit more to it. Instead of using just one sheet of 6x6, we're going to use 6 pieces of 6x6 of the Marbleous DSP that anybody can get free with a $50 order. And here's the back side of it, but honestly, I like this marbled side the best, so that's what we're going to focus on. And you're going to see me do 12 quick and easy cards. No, I take that. Yes, 12 quick and easy cards, 1 Slimline card, and 1 gift tag. And it will use up every bit of all 6 of these sheets. So I'm going to flip my camera around now so we can get started. While I'm doing that, if you would please share this live video, I would appreciate it very, very much. So with the many, or I want to say many Marbleous, it's not, it's just Marbleous, simply Marbleous DSP. The colors of cardstock and ink I've chosen today are Blushing Bride, Bumblebee, Coastal Cabana, Balmy Blue, Gorgeous Grape, and Basic Gray. These are 6 colors that are designated on this DSP pack. However, when you get this, you'll see that there are others. Like you could use Pool Party, you could use Misty Moonlight or Night of Navy, so Highland Heather. So please know that the way the marbling of the paper is done, you may see shades of the colors, all right? And you might choose some different cardstocks than me, but those are the 6 inks and the 6 cardstocks I'll be using. I'll also be showing the Slim Sayings. This was designed to be used with Slimline cards. A lot of people have started making the Slimline cards just a little fun and different than our normal A2 size cards. But what I want you to know is you can use this on your A2 size cards, and that's why I'm showing this today. It's a wonderful set. I love it very much, but because of the name Slimline Sayings, please do not let that discourage you from purchasing it or using it, because like I said, all of these will fit on your A2 cards. All right, now I am not going to suggest that you cut 6 sheets of DSP at a time. I have a Carl cutter that I use for bulk paper cutting, so I would go to that and cut all 6 of these at once. However, if you own the Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, it's got the logo on, our latest edition one in the annual catalog, I believe it's $25, and it might not be available right now. I know they had a hard time getting them with supply chain issues. But if you have this, you can cut up to 3, maybe even 4 pieces of DSP. But my suggestion is that you split the pack in half and do 3 sheets of one color and 3 sheets of the other. But I'm going to cut them all at once, basically. So the first cut I'm going to make of these 6x6, and make sure they're stacked and all the edges are even. The first cut I'm going to make is at 3.5 inches. And I'm going to do that for both stacks just so I don't get mixed up. So 3.5 inches. I'll make sure all those edges are nice and even. And I'm cutting at 3.5 inches. So now I have a stack that measures 3.5 by 6 inches and 2.5 by 6. With the 3.5 by 6 inch stack, and again, I'm just going to cut 3 at a time, I want to now cut at 4 3/4. You're going to love this because it's a fun way to make quick and easy cards. It's a great way to build up your stash of cards. So I'm going to put these to the side for now. And then with the 2.5 by 6 inch strips, I'm going to cut the length at 5.5. And then I will have 2.5 by 5.5, and I'll have 2.5 by 1/2 inch strips. And we will be using these as well. Oh, Kathy, you have a sunny day in Wyoming. Good for you. That's awesome. The sun is just, I mean, the sun can be a game changer in your day, don't you think? Even if it's just for a little bit, to get some of that warm, bright sun shining on your face, or if you're going for a walk or running errands, whatever. It's just so, so nice. So I'm going to put all of these strips away because we're going to be using these at the very end. And I'll also put my 2.5 inch strips aside. Now for these, I've already cut pieces of basic white cardstock to mount each of these onto. So if you remember from the cutting demonstration, these measure, the Marbleous, Simply Marbleous DSP measures 3.5 by 4 3/4. So my white measures 3 3/4 by 5. As you can see, the backside is pretty too, but I'm partial to the side with the bolder coloring. This side with the marble bolder colors reminds me of the shaving cream technique that my friend and team member Tracy Dolling did a while back. I'll have to see if I can find that video because it is a fun technique and it gives you that look of the marbling paper that we get with this DSP. But this DSP comes without the mess, right? and one less step and no drying time. Whoop. Not sure what I was doing there. And number 6. So the next step, also super easy, is that I have taken each of those colors and cut a card base, standard A2 size, so it's 5.5 by 8.5, and I have scored at 4 1/4. And I'm just going to now adhere the layers of DSP and white cardstock to the front of each of those. How many of you like to make a bunch of cards at once? I don't always do that, but I try to at least make 2 each time, and oftentimes more depending on what I'm doing. Barb, I'm going to go ahead and send you a set of catalogs. I've got 3 people who, and you are one of them, who are still waiting. So I want to get that off to you. Janelle says she usually does 2 at a time. And honestly, isn't it true that if you're already making 1, it's just as easy to make 2 at a time? And that's a good way to build up your stash of cards, because sometimes you need to send a card and you just are pressed for time. So it's always nice to have a stash. If you want to get into selling your handmade cards, that also is a good way to build your stash to be able to sell cards. I'm hoping to sell lots of my handmade cards this weekend. I have my Creative Escape Weekend, Friday through Monday in Cincinnati. So I'm excited about that. A lot of these people I have not seen in a long time, probably since the last one in October. And then I also have some new people coming. I've got a new venue where I can take more people. So super excited about that. So let me just show you these. Here's a set of birthday cards I made. And you can see I chose the Happy Birthday stamp from Slim Sayings. And then I stamped it in each color that coordinates with the cardstock color. And I also used, now I have to say, this is probably my second favorite embellishment, the iridescent rhinestones. What I like about these is they seem to take on the color of the cardstock. So if you see what I mean here, and I didn't use it for the gray. I decided I would use the classic matte dots for the embellishment on the basic gray card. But you can see how the iridescent rhinestones pick up the color of the cardstock that you put them on. And I'll just tell you quickly that I've cut strips that are 5.5 inches long, the same width as the card, by 3/4 inch. Okay, 5.5 by 3/4. And then I like to have a decorative edge most of the time, not always, but most of the time. So I can just very quickly use my Banner's Pick-a-Punch Sometimes I'll punch 2 at a time, but most often I just do 1. one layer at a time, because that's the way the punches are designed for. This is probably my most often used punch. Okay, so now I have 6 of those ready to be stamped. The reason I like to stamp the ends or punch the ends first on things like this is it helps me center the stamp, because I like to leave a little extra on each side of the sentiment so that I can put some kind of embellishment. Okay, in the other cards, I did happy birthday, so I thought for these, I will pull out happy for you. Now, if you're wanting to use one color, I'd suggest maybe the basic gray or black, but I've decided that I'm going to use different colors for each card, the different color ink, that color that matches the cardstock. Now, to do that, make sure you're prepared to clean your stamp in between each time. So I've got my Simply Chamois over here beside me, and I'll be using that, of course, to clean my stamp between colors, because you don't want to contaminate your ink pads. And hopefully I can stamp this straight. Oh yeah, looks pretty good. Let me clean that off. And when I make lots of cards, I prefer to do it assembly line style. So you saw me cut all the pieces, even the cutting. I cut all the card bases, then I cut the white layer, then you saw me cut the DSP. I cut my strips, my banners, and now I adhered the layers to the base. Now I'm stamping all 6 of the sentiments. That's what I mean by assembly line style. You're repeating the same step over and over. Of course, happy for you is a great sentiment because it can be for graduations, bridal showers, new babies, all kinds of things. And Barb and Amy, I can't remember who the third person is. I'll have to look at my list. I thank you for waiting so patiently to see if those catalogs got to you. And I'm sorry they didn't. You know, sometimes we're just at the mercy of the post office or our courier. But I do appreciate your patience. And like I said, I don't want you to wait any longer. So I will send them. If you're somebody who's watching and you have not ever ordered from me and you're not currently working with another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would be so glad to earn your business. And if you are in need of a catalog, I will send that to you complimentary. You just have to message me or send me an email with your catalog request, full name, and mailing address, and I will get that to you. Now, next step, super easy. You probably already knew what I was going to do. I'm going to add some dimensionals. And I don't put my dimensionals at the very end of each banner if I'm planning to add an embellishment at each end. I prefer not to have the embellishment stacked on top of a dimensional. Doing so makes it a little thicker to go through the mail, so that's why I avoid putting the dimensional on the very end of my banner. And of course, you want to get the most out of you can out of your embellishments or your dimensionals. So definitely cut those edges up and use them. And now I'll just add these to the front of each of my cards. I always tend to put mine at the bottom here, but if you want to put them in the middle or at the top, you can do that. You can center them, you can turn them at an angle, whatever appeals to you. Okay, and since we're at live and we have a lot to do today because I want to show you another set of 6 cards. I'm going to very quickly put the embellishments that I chose on these. You know, lots of times I ask you, oh, which embellishments should we use, that sort of thing, but we have a lot to do today, so I'm just going to zip through this part. I'm using the same size, the medium size iridescent rhinestones for these. Again, as I put them on, you can see that they really do pick up the color of the cardstock I've used on each, which I think is just fun. Does anybody else have these yet? The iridescent rhinestones? Because they pick up the color of the cardstock, it makes them that much more versatile. So right there, what is that, about 25 minutes, 23, 25 minutes? I've made those 6 cards. And now I'm ready to move on and do another set of cards. This time, oh, here's my snack. This time I'm using the 2.5 by 5.5 inch strips. So again, I've pre-cut a card base in each of the 6 colors. And I've cut some white, which measures just 1/4 inch wider. So 5.5 by 2 3/4. So this is 5.5 by 2.5. The white is 5.5 by 2 3/4. Notice too, I don't overdo the adhesive. A lot of times we want to use so much more adhesive. If you're using a good adhesive, you don't need to overuse it. And you can see how quickly the assembly of cards goes when you've got your card bases and your cardstock layers and the DSP already cut. I think doing things assembly line style when you're making a lot is very time efficient. So another reason to do that. I didn't get this one quite straight, so I want to do a better job with that one. Which side of the cards, the DSP, do you prefer? The marble side or the more, I guess it's still marbled, but more subtle? Let's say the more bold side or the more subtle. Do you have a preference? Because the other side would certainly make beautiful cards too. There's no reason not to use the other side. Now I'm going to add the layers to my card fronts. Now you can add them at the bottom, you can add it towards the top, or you can put it in the middle. Let me show you what I did on my first set. I put the layers near the bottom. And then you can see I stamped a sentiment and used the everyday label punch to punch those out. And I've got 4 of the iridescent rhinestones around, with the exception of the gray. Again, I used the classic matte dots. For this one, I think I'm going to put my layers right in the middle. Just change it up a little bit. Whoops, got 2 there. Does anybody know why I flipped that around? Does anybody know? I fold, I have my card base pre-cut and scored, and then I flipped it over. Does anybody know why? Here's the reason why. I folded it over on the score line, but if you can see here, the top layer is just a smidgen shorter than the bottom layer. Can you see that there? I'm trying to get a good angle on the, there, maybe that's better. Now you can see it. So I want to make this the back, that shorter side the back. So I just flip it over. That's why. I just think it looks neater. Makes your front side just look neater. Does anybody have a favorite color in here? Purples. Oh gosh, 3 of you say the purples right off the bat. Joyce, let her be on my team. She is one of those purple fanatics. It's her favorite color. So my guess is she would enjoy that. All right. So on here, I might choose to do something different. I might choose to not even put a sentiment, although any of these are awesome. I love this one in Joy too, if you're giving perhaps a plant or a bouquet of flowers or a gift to stamp Enjoy and put it right on there. But I'm going to choose to do something different this time. And I'm just going to do it on one of them to give you an idea and show you. I'll pull out a couple of my punches, and I need some white here. Don't you love it when your scrap is just the right size that you need? It's the little things in life, right? Not everybody would understand that. Only crafters get that. Or quilters maybe, but somebody that does a craft. Oops, I wanted to cut 2 more of those little ones. Who has the daisy punches? I love these. Cut any color cardstock for your flowers. You can also cut DSP with them. I'm going to add a little bit, I'll make sure I'm in the viewing screen here for you. And I like to layer the daisies. These could be all kinds of things. You could put lots of layers on, make them mums, black-eyed Susans, what else? All kinds of flowers that you can make by changing out the colors. Also fun to cut flowers from DSP. You could even cut from this DSP, the many, or I want to say many Marvelous. No, it's simply Marbleous. Now, I would say that I'm going to use these large rhinestones in the center. You could also maybe use some circle punches. I know ours have retired, but you might still have those, our circle punches, to use in the center. Look what I'm going to do on this one. I just feel this, even the largest size, isn't enough. And you might think this is, oh, Mary, that's a whole lot. But you know what? Every once in a while, I'm going to go with a whole lot. And I'm going to fill in the center of my large daisy with one large rhinestone, and then how many is that around? Looks like 8. I probably wouldn't do that if I was making 20 or 30 or more cards, but on one, it makes it kind of special, especially for the person receiving the cards. So I'm just going to lay them out here like this. Again, I said I'm not going to add a sentiment to this. And then I'm going to take this, and I think let me find it here. I'm thinking Pear Pizzazz would be nice for little leaves. What green would you choose? Honestly, any of them, or Granny Apple Green would be great. Old Olive. So I'm not really sure why I thought of Pear Pizzazz first, but it works, right? Because I have the embellishments on the flowers in the center, I'm not going to put these on dimensionals. Again, I think it's going to make it a little too thick, especially when sending. And before I add the leaves, I'm just going to pull up my petals a little bit. You don't have to fold them or curl them, just kind of pull them up like that. Yes, they will flatten out when you put this in an envelope and mail the card, but they won't lay perfectly flat. So the person receiving will get the idea that you can pop up some of these petals a little bit, especially if they're putting their card on display for others to see, which is very likely when you send handmade cards. People like to show them off, which is great for you, right? And me, all of us, I should say. Okay, I'm just going to add a dot of glue, and then I'm going to tuck the leaves way under like that. And it's okay if flower petals and leaves overlap each other. That's normal. That happens in nature. Doris says, bring on the spring. Doris, we're not that far into winter. I am ready for a good snowfall. If it's this cold, I want to see snow. And we barely got a dusting in central Ohio. But I know some of you have had lots and lots and lots of snow. So you might have a different thought on that right now. And because I only put the adhesive on the very tip that's hidden, even the leaves kind of spring off the page a little bit. So what do you think? Is that gorgeous or what? So pretty, right? All right, I won't take the time to make all the others because you got the instruction on how to do that with the daisy punches and the sprig punch. And now I want to show you how we're going to use up these strips. Now for these, I'm not going to make 6 more cards of each, all right? What I'm going to show you first with the large strips is the Slimline card. So let's make one. You know, I am going to ask you about this. So I've made, and I'll show you this too. So I made a Slimline card and a gift tag with the leftover strips, all right? Because I said I want to use it all that DSP, all 6 sheets, no waste. So this is what I made. What would you think if we used black for the Slimline card base and the tag? Would you think black would work, or would you choose to use white again? So why don't you type that in the comments, black or white, for me. Any thoughts on that? Okay, we're about half and half. We're really about half and half, it looks like. So just to change it up, I'm going to go with the black. Okay, all of a sudden I'm seeing more white. I certainly understand. But let's try the black. You never know. Obviously, my go-to is white. I don't often think of putting, using black as the base unless black is part of the design or part of the DSP I'm using. So let's try it and see. Now to make a Slimline card, we need a base that starts out being 7 inches by 8.5. So the easiest way to make your base is simply to cut off 4 inches of one 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. So now I have 7 inches by 8.5, and I'm going to score this at 3.5 inches. So now when I fold this, the finished size is 3.5 by 8.5 inches. So these strips, 3.5 by 1.25, that were left over from cutting, here it is. We cut 3.5 inches, and then we cut 4 3/4. So that's what these are left over from. And I'm just gonna lay these out. You can arrange them any way you want as far as the colors go. You can evenly space them, you can do some crooked, whatever you want. I'm just gonna lay mine out. It almost looks like a, oh, what do I wanna say? A paint swatch, like you would get at the hardware store or something. Now to do this, I'm leaving just a little bit at the bottom, and I'm going to leave a little bit at the top as well when I put my top and bottom DSP pieces on. And I'm being kind of generous with my multi-purpose glue, and I'm not pressing the pieces down really hard yet. I'm just kind of adding the glue and then setting it lightly in place. Does anybody know the reason for that? Why I'm doing that? You can see the reason right now. I want to be able to slide those pieces around so that I can get even spacing between each of the strips. And I think that looks pretty good, so I'm going to press it down. You don't have to measure anything like that. Barb, that's right, in case I need to move those pieces around a little bit. So don't worry about measuring. Just be generous with that glue. And most of that glue, noticed, was in the center of the strips, not all the way across. All right, so this is done. And now I'm going to add a sentiment. And I'm once again going to stamp "You Are Kind." This time, I'm actually going to stamp it in black because I think that will be kind of stunning on here. But you could pick any color coordinating. Here I use the balmy blue. Make sure I have it inked up well. When I'm doing this, I'm more or less holding that in place. I'm not pushing hard. I'm just holding it down in place, giving a few seconds for that ink to transfer from the stamp to the cardstock. Ooh, I kind of like that with the black. It's a completely different look, isn't it? All right, let's add this with some dimensionals, of course. Let me cut some more here. And then I'll show you how I made the tag. Of course, you can add ribbons, bows, some baker's twine, any kind of embellishment to these Slimline cards. Just like that. All right, what do you think? Okay, some of you that said white, stick with white, stick with white. Can you kind of see? Does the black kind of grab you a little bit? Does it sway you a little bit? I honestly like both, but now that I've done the black, I'm like, oh, that really is, it just makes the colors pop a little bit more. All right, finally, let me show you how to make the gift tag. And I'm just going to use black again for this one. And I'm going to cut this, I don't know why, but I always tend to go 4 1/4 by 2 inches when I make the tags. But of course you can make them any size that you want. So I have 2 inches by 4 1/4. I'm going to use the tailored tag. No, it's not tailored tag. It is Delightful Tag Topper, I believe, from our annual catalog, Delightful Tag Topper. Now, I have to say, with mine, I always have one little spot that does not cut out at the tip top. So I just like to pull this out. And you can see sometimes it looks almost like a snag. I just take my snips and round it out. But that's the Delightful Tag Topper punch. And now I'm just going to, oh, I told you no waste. There is a tiny bit of waste here. But what I'm going to do is just lay these out once again. But they can be any order at all. And then I'm going to adhere them. Same thing with my multi-purpose glue. And I'm going to start with the top and bottom strips, and I'm going to leave a little bit at the bottom there. You can arrange the colors any way you like. This is something that would be fun to do with kids too. Let them design using those strips. Oops, I should pull those off, huh? And don't worry that they're overlapping, because we're going to take care of that. I'll show you how. It's super easy. And there's 2 ways you can do that. Again, if you need to slide those around to even out some spacing, go ahead and do that. A little bit harder on this one because they're closer together. If I move one, I'm tending to catch the other one and move it. There, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to let these dry, but I will be cutting off the ends on each of those. But I'm going to let the glue dry first so they're not sliding around while I'm doing that cutting. Oh, Stella says she uses sandpaper, a fine sandpaper, and punch that to catch that burr. I guess it sharpens that little bit. Okay. Or are you talking, all right, you're talking about actually stamping the sandpaper. Is that correct, Stella? I've also seen people use a little sandpaper to take off that little, a little burr on the cardstock itself. So I'm not sure if that's the way. Yes, punch the cardstock. I guess that makes your punch a little bit sharper. Wonderful. That's a good tip, and I hadn't thought of that. I guess it's something I haven't done in a very long time. While I'm waiting for this to dry, I'm going to, where's my scrap paper here? I'm going to stamp the happy birthday, and once again, I'm going to stamp in the black. I think it just looks really kind of sharp against all those colors. But you could pick a coordinating color also. I'm just going to stamp this. Don't worry about it being straight because we're going to cut those words out. Just take your snips. Don't worry, you don't have to get your big paper cutter. Just take your snips. It's okay if they're not perfectly straight. And it's going to be straighter than you think also. Ordinarily, I'd give this black just a minute to dry. So that's why I'm trying to hold the cardstock without touching the words, because I didn't give it that minute for the black to dry. I don't want to smear the ink, just in case. Dries quickly, but I just like to be sure when it's a dark color. Need to trim up here. That's trimming pretty close, isn't it? But it's all right. So now, before I adhere the happy birthday words, get all that out of the way, I'm ready to trim the edges off. There's two ways you can do it. The first way is with your paper trimmer. You're just going to line up that black edge, the edge of your tag, and cut those little tips. And then the other way is to use your paper snips. And what I like to do is put that top blade right against the cardstock and squeeze the paper snips. And that helps me get as close as I can. Just like that. Okay, now I said there wasn't going to be any waste, but I forgot about these tiny little pieces. What would you do with these? I guess you could put them in inside a shaker card, right? I don't know. Or confetti. When my kids were little, New Year's Eve was a big deal. We didn't go out. We stayed home where it was safe, where we felt it was safe. And we just kind of had like a mini party with the kids, games, movies, whatever. We got to eat snacky foods, that sort of thing. And our kids literally would be punching and cutting pieces of paper and construction paper or whatever they could find, magazines, and making confetti. And then they would put it in a piece of, I think it was tissue paper, like squares of tissue paper. Maybe they taped 4 together. And somehow, I don't know how, but they would tape it to the ceiling with all the confetti in. And then when it was time, they knocked it down and the confetti fell. And of course, Mom vacuumed it the next day. But that's what it made me think of. Kind of miss those days, though. Although I have to say, having adult children, I never knew would be so fun. I really do enjoy having adult children. It's a different kind of relationship, I guess. And they still need me and I still need them. It's just we need each other differently. But that's the first thing I thought of with all these tiny little pieces. And then the last thing I would do would be to add either some ribbon to the top or baker's twine. In fact, we can, let me see here. Let me see what I have handy. I've got some white. Why don't we just do that? And if you would like to win these 2 tags, I'm going to give this 2 gift tags to the same person. One lucky winner will get these. if you would like to be the recipient of these, just type marble, M-A-R-B-L-E, for Marbleous, or type Marbleous if you'd rather, since that's the name of the DSP. Barb says she has 2 adult children. And then comes grandchildren. I know. Another friend of mine just found out she's going to be a grandma for the first time. I know my time will come, but I hear it's like the best thing ever to be a grandma. So, oh, I should have showed you how I did that. So I like to cut a length of, it can be baker's twine, it can be ribbon, cord, whatever. What I like to do is fold it in half, and I always make mine long enough that if I'm tying it to a gift bag, if it's a big bag or a small bag, it's long enough that I can adjust. If it's a small bag, I'm going to tie with less. If it's a bigger bag, I'll tie this to the handle with a little more length. But I like to fold it in half, and I push the loop from the front to the back. And then I open the loop and I push the ends through and give it a pull. And when you do that, then it hangs with the front facing forward on your bag. Because sometimes if you just take the length through and you tie it, then it kind of turns a little bit. This is a better way to make sure that it lays flat. All right. Oh, look at you. So great being a grandma. Granddaughter is my heart. Pam, I didn't even know that you are a grandma. I had no idea. How exciting. I love how we could just keep learning about each other. All right, if you would like to receive the gift tags, please type the word marble or Marbleous, either one. You're a great grandma. Pam, you're kidding. You look so young. I can't even believe that. That's awesome. So is being a great grandma like twice as great as being a grandma? All right. I will choose one winner from all the people whose names go into the drawing if they typed marble or Marbleous. And oh, Tina, 6 times over, you're a grandma. How fun. Barb, what a good idea. You made Christmas tags and could hang them on the Christmas tree. I love that. You know, before I say goodbye, I am going to scroll back quickly and see if there were any questions. I was moving kind of quickly because I knew there would be a whole lot. Whole lot going on in this Facebook Live, so I was not really looking up at comments too much until the very end. Okay, I don't see any questions that I missed. Recap the measurements. Yes. When you, here, I'll just pull a piece of DSP out and cut it. So to make all of these things, you're going to start with a 6x6 piece of designer series paper, cut it 3.5 inches. With the 3.5 inch strip, you're going to turn it and cut at 4 3/4. So 3.5 by 4 3/4, and you've got a 3.5 by 1 1/4 inch strip left. With your 2.5 inch strip, you're going to turn it and cut it 5.5. So 2.5 by 5.5 and 2.5 by 1/2 inch. For the tags, I think somebody asked that. For the tags, I start with a piece of cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 2 inches. And the 2-inch width is because that's what fits in the delightful tag topper. You can do 1 inch, 1.5, or 2 inch in here. Okay. So 4 by 4¼ inches by 2 inches, 4¼ by 2. And okay, I think that was it. All right, I will get this posted to my blog. Let's see, I have Friday's Facebook Live ready, almost ready to post. I need to add measurements for another set of cards, and then that will be ready to be posted in just a little bit, actually. And then this will post either tomorrow or Wednesday on my blog, stampandpiece.com. Thank you very much for joining me. Yes, Jean, the punches are in the annual catalog. Okay, the punches are in the annual catalog near the back. Thank you, all of you, for being here today. I'm so happy you joined me for this one sheet wonder with a twist, I'll say, because we made lots and lots of cards. And I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Not sure what we're going to work on, but I'll pull another celebration item and probably something from the annual catalog as well. But again, the Simply Marbleous Designer Series paper can be yours free with a $50 Stampin' Up! Order. And that reminds me, I am so close to a major milestone. I'm about $2,850 away from my $400,000 in career sales. So I'm pushing to get that last $2,850 by the end of this month. It'll be close, but I think I can do it with some help and support from many of you. All right, have a good Monday evening, and I will see you back here Wednesday at 8 p.m. on Stampin' Piece with Mary and Abe. Bye-bye.